We've been talking about in our science class what plants need to grow, and we have so far set up our experiment that we're going to do to answer our question. Who wants to read the question to the class? David.
Do plants need sunlight and water to grow?
Good. So our experiment we set up, and we've talked about that to answer our question, do plants need sunlight and water to grow? And we talked about kind of the procedure that we decided on to do our experiment. And so today we're going to go over our observation sheet and kind of what you want to include when you're observing your plants and whether or not they grow. And instead of using our second grade words, we're going to go over some special science words that you're going to use when you're writing down your observations. So give me a thumbs up if you know what this word is, this first word. Middle if you've heard it before but you're not real sure, and thumbs down if you've never seen this word before, our first word. Got some thumbs up and some thumbs middle. Gail, can you read the word for us?
Marigold.
Marigold. David, I saw your thumb was kind of in the middle. Is there a part of this word that you recognize?
I think it's a word for a flower, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, good. It is the name of flower. Is there a chunk of this word that you might recognize if you're reading it and you're not sure if it's a flower or what it is?
Well, there's the word gold is in there.
Okay, the word gold is in there. If we cover up this first part, we see that it might have something to do with gold. If you were to make a prediction, Gail, what color do you think our flower might be?
Yellow.
Yellow. Maybe yellow because the word gold is kind of a yellowish color. Okay, good prediction. So when marigolds are what we're going to be using to conduct our experiment on what plants need to grow. So if you're talking about your plant growing in your observation, you can use the science word marigold to be more specific as to what kind of plant that we're going to be talking about. Second word, can anyone read this for us?
Soil.
Soil. Thumbs up, you've heard it, you're sure. Middle, maybe. Down, totally new. Thumbs up, okay. What is soil, Gail?
Dirt.
Dirt. It's our fancy science word for dirt. So when we're talking about the dirt, you might observe, or something if you want to talk about when we actually go about planting or doing our experiment with the dirt, instead of saying dirt, we're going to use what, David?
Soil.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the soil. What about our next word?
Gail.
Me? Seed.
Seed. Thumbs up, middle, down. Okay, that's a word that's a pretty common word. You might have heard that before. What's a seed? In your own words, David, what is a seed?
It's what the plants grow from.
Right, it's that first building block that a plant grows from. And in this case, what's our plant that we're growing, Gail?
Marigolds.
Marigold. So I've got a picture for you guys. Usually we'd have this up on the main screen, but for today, we're just going to do our small screen. These are the pictures of our marigold seeds that we're going to plant in our soil as part of our experiment.
They don't look like seeds.
They don't look like seeds. What do seeds look like to you, Gail?
I thought seeds were round.
Okay, so the seeds that you've seen were more round seeds. And these are definitely not round. What do they look like to you, David?
They look like toothpicks.
They kind of look like toothpicks, kind of straw or wood-like. Okay, so different seeds look differently. The common seeds that you've seen have been round, but our marigold seeds are a little bit different, right? So when we're talking about our observations, part of our observations, we're going to be planting our seeds in the soil. It's part of our procedures, remember? So you can talk about our seeds and what they might look like, or what you did to plant the seeds. Our next word, thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. This isn't as common of a word that we haven't really talked about yet. What's that word? Kind of in the middle. Can you read it for us, Gail?
Sprout.
Good, sprout. So, do you guys have an idea of what sprout might be? Or where have you heard it before?
I know a dog whose name is Sprout.
Okay, it could be a name of a dog. In this case, since we're talking about plants and what they need to grow, it's not related, but sometimes dogs can be named Sprout.
I know a store named Sprout.
Okay, a grocery store named Sprout. Okay, and that does have to do with plants to some degree, because what do they sell there?
Vegetables
Vegetables
and fruit.
and fruit, which are plants, right? Okay. In this case, we plant the seeds in the soil, right? And you might want to talk about how your plant grows. Well, when you see that plant grow for the very first time, just that little bit of first growth, your seed has sprouted. And your plant has sprouted. You have a sprout. So when we talk about growing, one of the things you could talk about is how your plant maybe has sprouted. And that's just when you have your first little growth on the plant. Okay? Next word, David.
Bud.
Good. Give me a show of hands. We're good on bud. What's a bud?
It's what happens before a flower shows up.
Okay, it's right before a flower shows up. Good. Do you have another way in your own words to say it, David?
Well, it's taller than a sprout, but it's not.
Okay.
It hasn't bloomed yet.
Okay. You're getting a little ahead of us. Good. So I see you have some experience with planting flowers and plants, probably. So our bud is, you're right, it's our next step where a plant is sprouted, right? And then it's kind of the beginning of that flower, right? That very first, the first part, you start to see the color of that flower coming on, and that's when it has a bud. And so instead of saying something like, my plant is starting to have flower, you can say, my plant has a what?
Bud.
A bud. You can talk about the buds. If your plant gets to that point and you see a bud, then you can talk about that. Good. And then our last word, David, he's kind of got ahead of us, but that's okay. He's had some good experience that he can help out with. Up, middle, or down. But if you've heard about bloom, okay, good. Gail, can you tell me in your own words what a bloom is?
It's a flower
Okay.
that has that's fully opened.
Okay, good. So that's our next step in growth, right? First our marigold's going to sprout, and then it might form a bud, and then it might open up, right, and form that full flower, and then you have a bloom. Or we can say that it bloomed. So when we're talking about, if we see that in our experiment, in that part of our experiment, you can use the word bloom or say that it bloomed to describe that last flowering part. Good. So our question is, do plants need sunlight and water to grow? What happens if we don't see a bloom? Did we mess up? Do we have to see a bloom?
Well, it depends on the time, I think. If it has all the ingredients to grow, sunlight, water, it's going to bloom.
Okay, so, but we're looking to see if it does need sunlight and water to grow. So is it possible, as part of our experiment, we might not see it grow?
Yes.
It's possible, right? So we have 4 different groups, right? We have some of us are going to give our plants sunlight and water. Some of us are going to give our plants just sunlight. Some of us are going to give our plants just water. And we're going to see what exactly does it need to grow. So if it needs some of those things and we don't give it to it, is it possible that our plants are not going to show all these things?
Yes.
It's possible. Is that okay?
It's part of the experiment, I guess.
Yes, it's okay. It doesn't mean we messed up. Doesn't mean we did anything wrong. You might see some of your friends have a bloom and you don't. That's okay. Because it's not a competition. We're not trying to see who grows the biggest plant, right? We just want to see what it takes to grow. So some of these things you might use in your observations. You might see them. Some of these things you might not see in your observations. And that's okay. We just want to see what does it need, not try to make it do all these things, right?
Okay.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay.
When do we start?
This afternoon we're going to take our materials out into the garden and begin planting our marigolds.